Church leaders need intentional development to help them discover their capacity.
When studying leadership, it can be easy to stereotype a large number. The truth is, some people have an innate ability to inspire.
If you can change the way you think before you go to sleep, you'll wake up with some answers that you never had.
Hello and welcome to the Vanderbloemen Leadership Podcast, where we talk about how to build, run, and keep great teams. I'm your host, Holly Tate, and I wanted to invite you to our Executive Pastor Coaching Network here at our offices in Houston, Texas. You'll receive in-person coaching about team building, hiring, firing, staffing, culture building from William Vanderbloemen, Tim Stevens, and Tony Morgan. You don't want to miss it, so go to our website, vanderbloemen.com, and click on coaching to learn more. In this week's episode, William Vanderbloemen talks with Pastor Mike Robertson, who's the lead pastor of V1 Church in Visalia, California. He moved from Texas to the West Coast to plant a church. So William and Pastor Mike talk about the cultural differences geographically and ministry, as well as his new book, Mind Viruses. Be sure to tweet your key takeaways using the hashtag Vandercast. That's hashtag Vandercast. Show us what you're learning as you're listening. Let's jump in.
Well, hey, folks, thanks for joining us again this week. It's always a pleasure to get to introduce you to some of my friends in ministry that I've gotten to know over the years through work and friendship and through people that I've helped or our company has helped find key staff. Today, we're blessed to have Pastor Mike Robertson with us. Pastor Mike's been at First Visalia for quite a while now. Visalia is in the dead middle of California. Is that about right, Pastor Mike?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and want to talk to you today about a couple of things. You got a book coming out. Also want to hear about California. So I'm fascinated with this state. It's far and away the number 2 most popular place that we work or work with candidates. And I'm learning. There's, when I first went out there, everybody said, well, California's different. And I'm like, yeah, right. Everybody says they're different. But it really is different. And it's different when we're working in Northern California or the Bay Area or Central California, the Valley where you are, or Southern California, Orange County. It's just, and then I learned in preparation for this podcast that Pastor Mike's from Texas. So tell me, Mike, how was it moving from Texas to California? What are some of the things you had to learn about the culture there that were new to you?
Well, that's a good question, William, because, Karen, my wife, and I came out here about 20 years ago to plant a church in San Diego. And I was a Southern preacher, with the hatas and, how we can stir a crowd up through our preaching. Preaching was the dynamic there. I came to San Diego and started church and tried my Southern style out on them, and people just looked at me like a cow looking at a new gate. Couldn't figure out why I was yelling at them. Matter of fact, they asked me, why do you yell at us so much? Just talk to us. And for the first 5-10 years being in California, I had to unlearn some stylistic things that I'd picked up along the ways of what I thought preaching should be. And I changed to more of a conversational style. Californians, they have a saying, as California goes, so goes the nation. And I think sometimes Californians are higher thinkers. They tend to be a little bit more forward thinking. And so, when Texas I preached, I started with the heart. Here I had to really start with the mind, because they're a little bit more thinkers than they are. Like in Texas, I've said this thousands of times. Everybody in Texas have been Baptist at least once,
Exactly. You have to be baptized to get your driver's license, I think.
That's right. But out here, there's a lot of people still come to church every weekend that have never been to a church. It's interesting, because
wow.
Usually in the Bible Belt you don't see that so much, but here you do. It's just different.
Well, we found in our work over the years that placing people into a California church that are not from California, you got to be kind of careful. You got to kind of look for some specific qualities to know if they're going to fit or not. Have you noticed, are there particular things you look for when you're bringing somebody that's not from California into your staff or your team?
William, at culture, culture is such a big thing, because what people do a lot of times, they try to come and overlay the culture that they have learned somewhere else and overlay it on our culture. But you said it earlier. San Diego churches are different than Visalia churches, that are different than San Francisco churches. All the cultures are different. And when I spot somebody, culture is one of the top things I got to figure out fast, because if they're locked into a different culture, they won't work here. When you're choosing staff, you're so good at this. I mean, I should be asking you these questions, but I know that they've been overstated, the Hybels, when he says the 4 C's, the character, the chemistry, the capacity, and those things. Character, yes. Culture, chemistry, yes. But you know what I found out, William, in selecting the right people to work here? Everybody interviews well. I mean, somebody's coaching everybody out there.
And even before the interview, I tell people all the time, it has never been easier to look better on paper than you are in person.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's the shift over the last 25 years in that regard. So I've come to depend more on my God nudge. When John the Baptist was in the womb of Elizabeth, and Mary came to visit her, John the Baptist leaped in Elizabeth's womb at the presence of Jesus. And ordinary people don't do that to you. I've come to realize that when I'm selecting staff, number one, as a pastor, I have to constantly be praying fervently about that. I just ran into a fellow this last year at a Bible college, and he just walked up to me and introduced himself to me, and something jumped on the inside of me. And I felt like the Lord said, this fellow needs to be with you. I never met the fellow. And after talking to him about an hour or two, I realized God is wanting me to hire this guy. I hired him. He became one of my best staff members simply because I followed that little jump inside of me, that little nudge.
Well, it's not a clinical thing, that's for sure. It's an art, and it's a spirit-led art. And I tell people all the time, if in fact I get to go to heaven, which will be pretty amazing, but if they let me in after we have church and worship and all that, and we get to go meet and greet people, I'm gonna go find Jesse, because our firm is really good at lining up people for you, the client, to choose. But if you ask me which one is the right one, that's a Holy Spirit question. That's not a me question. And Jesse and I are going to sit, and we're going to have a meal and commiserate about what it's like to line up all your tall boys, and then have the Spirit say, no, I want the one out in the field.
That's a great observation, William. That's a great observation, man.
Yeah.
Put it in better.
Tell us about your church. Now, since you've gotten there, y'all have had some pretty phenomenal growth. Tell me about when I got here and what it's like now.
Well, William, I stand on the shoulders of a lot of great pastors. Our church is 85 years old. I'm pastor number 14. We just had a lot of tremendous people ahead of us. I tell people all the time, you don't measure a church or its leader by the seal or sick ministry. A sick ministry, SIC, look what's happened to this church since I came. But a better test.
I've never heard that. That's awesome.
Better test is the seal ministry, SIL. Look what happened since I left.
Wow.
These former pastors left me a fantastic church. I tell my people all the time, I wish everyone had the opportunity to pastor such a phenomenal church as this. And so we came in, and God has blessed us. And I've been here over 7 years. I've never had one service. We have 4 on the weekend. Never had one service where somebody wasn't born again. We have just tons of people born again every weekend, and it's just a God thing. It really is a God thing. It's just one of those things where you happen to show up at the right place at the right time, and if you ever get an opportunity to get into a God thing, church, jump in it. And see, I underestimated the the value of standing on great shoulders. When I was a church planner, I was young, and I just couldn't wait to get out there and do it myself. I was going to show everybody how to do the church plant world. And then I realized real soon the value of good old godly people that have just stayed the course over the years and built systems, built people, godly people into a church that is a game changer. I stepped into a great church. That's all I can say, and God is blessed.
Wow, that's awesome. So you've got a book coming out. It's called Mind Viruses, and I'm always fascinated to hear what message God's put on a pastor's heart to sit down and write a book, because it's not a small thing, and you can write a book, but there's this Sunday thing. It happens like when I was in ministry, it happened every 7 days. I had Sunday coming again and again, so I didn't have time to write a book, so it's got to be a big message. Tell us about what's on your heart, what the book's about.
Well, William, I pastor tons of people, and you said it right. People, I just got tired of hearing stories about people living in defeat all the time. It's like they're walking around with their eyes toward the ground, staring at their feet, just living in defeat, And I try to tell people, I said, how you wake up in the day changes your day. How do you what you do 5 minutes before you go to sleep at night will change the rest of your life. Your subconscious doesn't sleep. When you go to sleep, your subconscious is waiting for an instruction, you to give it, and it's going to work on it during the night. And I tell people, if you can change the way you think before you go to sleep, you'll wake up with some answers that you never had. But when you wake up in the morning, you have a choice to make as well. And too many people wake up with the wrong thinking, and it's like you're driving down the freeway, and the exit sign, the first exit sign you come along, it says negative town. You can take that exit if you want to, but I'm going to take the next exit, which says Happyville. And I've decided that I'm not going to exit ramp onto negative thoughts for today, because if I go down into negative town, there's a lot of people down there, and they're negative as well. And if I get myself into a mess of negative people, I'm going to come up out of there just one negative person without a destiny, without a future. And I just think that if we could purposely set our mind to think godly thoughts, in my book I said I'll give you 7 words that change the rest of your life. As you think, so shall you be. Proverbs 23. As you think, so shall you be. If you think high thoughts, you ever wondered why some people are very successful and it seems like everything they touch just turns to gold, and yet there's another group of people that seem like they just can't ever get it going. It's everything they touch just turns to kaputs. It's all in the way they think. You've been around them, William. I've been around great people, and they think differently. They won't give themselves to negative thinking. They'll compartmentalize that. They'll put it to the side. They'll deal with it as they have to. But no, they're future thinkers. They're thinking about the future, and they're not spending so much time on the past. That's what the problem is. We sit around, we curse the past, rehearse the past. We need to reverse it and just start thinking the future. That's what we need to do.
That's awesome. Now, you guys, Visalia First Assembly, y'all part of the AG. The AG seems to me, from the outside looking in, like they're making a real effort to revitalize, to grow younger, to do some new initiatives to try and build up the next generation. Am I reading that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're sunk, William. Our denomination is 100 years old, and when we started this denomination in Hot Springs, Arkansas, 100 years ago, we were 100% in America. Today, we're only 5% of our denominations in America. 95% of the assemblies is outside.
Wow.
One of the reasons that it's booming on the outside so much is the influx of young people. young people are just popping up in Argentina, popping up in Australia, just it's crazy, South Africa. And so now they're sending missionaries back to America. And we got a problem. We got a brain drain. We got something going on that our young people we're gonna go the way of the other denominations. The Catholics right now, they can't find people to fill their church pulpits because the young people aren't interested. We've gotta do something to interest this younger group. So I'm purposely, everything I do right now is going younger. The people I'm hiring right now, they got to be 20 years younger than me.
Wow.
And and I'm taking risk. I'm taking a lot of risk, and I'm passing the baton off to the next generation. You know, it's a hard thing for a pastor to hand the baton off to the next generation, because he's sitting there looking at that young person and he's saying, come on, can't you get your life together? Can't you do anything right?
Sure.
And the young people that are receiving the baton are yelling, get out of the way, old man, get out of the old way, old man, let me have it. But if we can get together and we could pass that baton, I like your book, Succession. Wow.
Oh, thank you.
The ability to hand that baton off to where they don't drop it, I don't drop it handing it to them, and we make for a healthy transition. That's the future of the church right there.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I learned in writing the book about my own life is a lot of times the nervousness about succession has nothing to do with the other person. It's all my own issue. An example, this year we have 150 children. We actually have 7, but 150 and 7 aren't too different if you're in the same house. So the youngest of our 7 started kindergarten this fall. And, we did the walk her to school thing and drop her off. And, of course, Adrian is one of the strongest women I know, but I could see she's about to buckle and start to, boo-hoo, and I was feeling bad. And then I realized on the way back, I don't want my child to not go to school. I want her to grow up and flourish. What I don't like admitting is I'm getting that much closer to the end of my usefulness in this world.
Wow.
And I think when pastors like you start to realize the best thing I can do is have a good handoff, that's the legacy. I mean, people remember how you left long after they've forgotten what you did while you were there.
Yes, sir.
And
yes.
So you're speaking, like you're preaching right at the choir when you bring up succession. We just love talking about that. So
I should come to work for you, William. If this job doesn't work out, I'm coming your direction.
You're hilarious, Pat. So, Pastor Mike, want to round out our time together with a couple questions we like to ask everybody. One is, what is a book that you've been reading lately? And you're not allowed to say the Bible or Good to Great, because those are like the top 2 answers for every church leader. So, other than those 2, what's something you've been reading that I'd like to know about?
David Ferguson did a book. Dr. David Ferguson did a book on relational foundations, and I think that is probably one of my tops this year. I challenged myself at the beginning of the year to read 20 books, and I'm on number 16 right now. But I think that has to be in the top 3, along with the book. It's called Leadership and Self-Deception. That book has transformed my leadership.
That'll get up in your kitchen and stir the pots. That'll mess with you a little bit.
Buddy, my executives, my pastors read it now. All my boards are reading it. That'll make you think about why you do what you do. Of course, I'm a leadership guy, and of course, Sam Chan's book. I know that it looked like you wrote I think you wrote a forward in that, didn't you? You wrote
something for him, yeah.
And that book, I just finished that one. The pain of leadership pain. You'll only grow to the level of your threshold of pain.
That's
masterful.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Good books. Yeah.
So another question we like to ask people, tell me an app that you're loving using on your phone.
I don't know where it come from. I switched phones the other day and got my new iPhone, and this little heart, H-E-A-R-T, app, this little healthy app popped up on my phone for free, and I'm just loving that thing.
That's awesome.
I walk a lot, and it tells me how many steps I walk. It tells me my blood pressure. I'm just in love with health, and that little app, I don't even know what it is. It's a heart, in a heart-shaped app, and it's a healthy app. it's just telling me I'm healthier than I thought I was, William.
That's good.
I'm a lot further than I thought I was.
That's good. That's good. Just so it doesn't link up to like a Ben and Jerry's app or something, to get you to.
That's right.
Hey, one final question. Most people listen to this podcast on Monday or Tuesday. Most of the listenership's pastors. So how Monday is when you're a pastor. I just tell people, don't even send me your resume on Monday. Wait till Tuesday. Don't quit on Monday. It's a depressing day. So to try and lift people up a little bit, we ask every one of our guests, would you mind sharing with us a story where you just completely didn't do right on the stage, like flubbed a word or some mistake that happened on stage or in a service?
I was a youth pastor in Arlington, Texas, and years ago, and the pastor, we had Sunday night services in those days, and the pastor, he let me preach, and I was preaching on the family that prays together stays together. My wife had sang a special that night, and in that church, you had to go off the platform, go around the outside of the church, and come in the back door. She came in, sat back on the back row, and I was preaching, and I finished the sermon up, and I said, okay, now we're going to pray. In that church, the tradition was when you finish a sermon, everybody come down, kneel at the altar, and so I led a little song. Here come my wife. She knelt down on the first pew there, and everybody was down there, so I thought I'd go lay hands on my wife, so I went over there and put my hands on her back, and I was just really praying, Jesus, just help our family, Jesus. I was praying up a storm. Must have prayed for her 5-10 minutes, just giving her a good old back rub, and I finished, and I looked up, and it wasn't my wife. It was the homecoming queen at the local high school. They had worn the same dress that day, and looked at that, and you talk about the anointing leaving your life. I was just like, I went over to the pastor, and I said, I probably need to resign after what I just did in these altars. And so I go out there, I'm talking to the pastor. I said, I think this is my last day here. And here come the gal. She was an older gal, but this time she came out the door, and she was laughing and laughing. She said, I know exactly what happened when I saw your wife wear the same dress. You thought you were praying for your wife. She saved my life that night.
Oh, wow.
Because I
Wow.
literally attacked a woman in the altar.
Oh,
So,
wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. That does my heart good. I've had more flub ups in worship. I'm just glad to hear it. So, well, hey, Pastor Mike Robertson, everybody out there, the name of the book is Mind Viruses. You're going to want to check that out. And you might want to check out what's going on at First Visalia and Pastor Mike's ministry. It's a great church. We've had the pleasure of serving them over the years. It's a great spot in the Central Valley. And Pastor Mike, hope you all see some rain soon.
Yes, sir. Hey, William, it's always a pleasure chatting with you. Keep doing the good work you do. You're really helping a lot of churches, and we really appreciate what you do.
Thanks so much, and thank you all for joining us this week. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast. You can connect with us on Twitter at VanderbloemenSG and hashtag your key takeaways with hashtag Vandercast. You can also receive more information about what we do here at Vanderbloemen Search Group and notes from today's podcast at vanderbloemen.com/podcast. See you next time.